Bottom line is I just wanted to talk about teen use in medical marijuana states here in the United States. It's my sincere hope that we all have a habit against trusting experts. We've got some great experts who said some wonderful things over the years, including that the theory of germs wasn't a ridiculous fiction, that the electric light had no future, and that medical marijuana sends the wrong message to teens. I want to just give a hearty thanks to three folks from MPP, Karen O'Keefe, Bruce Merkin, and Zane Hurst, who really helped me keep these data up to date, and Jenny Rella from my own lab, who helped me with this presentation. What's the big problem with teen marijuana use? It's surely quite fun in this picture. We are seeing some intriguing correlations with dropping out of high school, but unfortunately when you look at those kids who drop out of high school who are marijuana users, they are also the ones who back in 4th grade had the lowest grades, so I don't think it's the pot. These IQ data coming out of Canada, Freed basically has shown that folks who had the same IQ years ago, some end up smoking pot not at all, some once a week, and some every single day. The ones who smoke every single day do worse on IQ tests later on. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it's because they're taking the IQ test high. The brain structure data, there's one study that says, hey, look, if you start smoking pot really heavy before age 18, you do see some strange ratios of white and gray matter in the brain. That one got a lot of press. Then there's another one that shows, hey, guess what? We can't find it. That one has gotten no press. But the data that really are compelling that I actually do believe is that there is an increased risk for dependence on marijuana. I think we all know the horrors of marijuana dependence, why there's, you eat a lot and ill-advised bologna peanut butter experiments. But the bottom line is that the risk for dependence actually does increase the earlier you start using cannabis in life. I want to point out, and these are actually based on the data that Rod initially gathered, that as marijuana has been medically available here in California, teen use has, dropped in every grade level that was measured from 1996 to 2006. Hawaii, in fact, exactly the same situation, but only from 1999 to 2005. Nevada has also had medical marijuana law on the ballot since 1999 and has also seen a drop. And in fact, every single state I could get data from, so I'm not going to show you a million graphs, but yet again, right? And people will say, well, Mitch, teen pot use is down nationally. In fact, the medical marijuana states, it's usually just a percentage point or two more down, so I mean, I don't want to make a big deal out of it. Yeah. But yeah, that's really the case, is that teen marijuana use is down in every single state that has a medical marijuana law. Paul had asked me to say, well, why don't you explain why this is? Right? The bottom line is, I don't know why it is, but I sure know why it isn't. ONDCP ads, arrest rates, drug-free communities, better prevention programs, better regulation, I don't know. Take the fun away. I'm getting some hints that some students, at least in New York State, are saying, oh, medical marijuana, that doesn't sound like any fun. And finally, the one that's scaring me the most is this switch to prescription drugs, so I have some data to show on that as well. Some of you may remember this ONDCP ad. Just let your little brother, tell him you forgot to pick him up because you were baked. Okay? Unfortunately, when I used to pick up my little brother, he was already the one who was baked. In fact, these ads tend to boomerang, and some research actually MPP has funded in a couple of other studies. So basically, the more of these ads that teens had seen, they were more likely to say they wanted to smoke pot. The ads made attitudes less negative in a laboratory study. And in fact, people who chatted online about the ads also were eager to start smoking pot. So I don't think the ONDCP's done a good job on this one. The arrest rates are freaking me out, as they should, but teens are basically a higher risk for arrest. If you're a teen marijuana user, you're much more likely to get arrested than some old white guy like myself. I'm finding the correlations with arrests. So the more arrests we have, there's little impact actually on lifetime use of marijuana. Unfortunately, cocaine use is sometimes up and sometimes essentially the same the more arrests we have. Shepard and Blakely, Shepard's a friend of mine now, Ted basically has shown that the more arrests we have for marijuana, the more crimes we have in both homicide, burglary, vehicle, theft, and larceny. So basically, while their cops are down fingerprinting the guy for an eighth, somebody's out stealing your car. And sad but true, I haven't been able to publish this, but I looked at the Department of Justice and John Gevins data. Basically, the more arrests you have, the stronger the pot gets. So, I mean, every year people are like, oh, Mitch, there's 870,000 marijuana arrests. I'm like, all right, my pot's going to be really good. One thing that did look promising was this drug-free communities, despite the irony of that title. Over 700 communities have received over $100,000 apiece, and they were supposed to use empirically validated approaches. You're going to have somebody who was a teen and somebody who was a religious leader, somebody from the school, some police officers, somebody from media, and try to see if this was going to have a good impact on drug use. I'm never going to say this again, so listen up close. The OMA DCP had a good idea. Bottom line is, yeah, it does look really good, the data look great, but they started with communities that were already not using much pot in the first place. So they say, look how much lower we are than the other guys. Well, yeah, duh, look what you started with. And so now they're trying to argue that, look, our rate of decline is better. I'm not all that impressed. What they need to do is control for that. So basically, the other thing is, I go to the website, I'm on their blog now, I get all these emails from them. I don't have any idea what anybody's doing in any of these drug-free communities, so it works and we have no idea why. This is the one thing that's frightening me, though, is if all these folks who used to be smoking pot are turning to OxyContin, Ritalin, whatever they can get from their moms and dads' medicine chest, this is something that's pretty scary. So this is the rate of students who've used non-medical use of prescription drugs. Basically, they grabbed a prescription drug and used it when it wasn't really theirs, and we're seeing this climb higher and higher, and I'm actually trying to gather some more data on this right now. Believe me, if I had a choice, my kids, OxyContin or pot, give me a break. Well, what do we know that seems to correlate with buffering kids against developing drug problems? We're going to hear a lot of that from some of my colleagues here, but some of the key things haven't worked as well as we thought. How are these done? And I see why it doesn't seem to work. The education control groups are often those ones where you're supposed to just learn about the drugs, and they say, look, this doesn't work, we got to teach them something new. Manuals for how this is done, and it's always really boring stuff. Marijuana began with this, you see. Yeah, what are some drugs? It's been a number of consistent ways, this religiosity, and I thought, well, this is kind of intriguing, but folks who tend to go to church and do church functions and things like that are also less likely to use marijuana. I don't think it's the church that's doing it, but it might be something going on. But the bottom line is these alternative behaviors, the very out of school, when they smoke pot, they don't get to do these anymore, and what a surprise, they're at more risk for problems. So people who are involved in sports, people who are involved in theater activity are buffered against at least drug problems, if not drug use. Unfortunately, if we're going to have school drug testing, I can hardly even say it, what is the penalty? They're not allowed to play some real problems. I'm disappointed by that, and I hope we can all take some steps on that. This stuff in my book, Parent World, who is published with High Times and Oxford University. And actually, I want to give this one away. There's Dick Cowan. Dick, this is